Hey, thanks so much for coming back to this episode of Graceland Online, where I'm going to walk through the question, how do I deal with my anger? How do I deal with my anger? Now, you may be thinking, well, I'm not an angry person, so I'm checking out. I'm not going to watch this episode. Or you might be thinking, I've been asking that question for years. I'm excited about this. Now, I think that anger is one of those emotions that is so prominent in so many people's lives, and oftentimes mostly bad ways. One person said that you can be an anger revealer, where you're walking on the proverbial eggshells in the room with this person, or you can be an anger concealer. An anger revealer is somebody that's saying things, dropping the language, doing the gestures, and you can tell, man, they are just angry and irritated. They're furious at life. You've heard the expression, man, they flew off the handle. I mean, think about that expression. You got an axe head on a handle, and somebody does something that you don't like, and you fly off the handle. That axe head comes off the handle. I mean, that's going to hurt somebody. That's bad news bears. An anger concealer is somebody who doesn't say things, who doesn't do things that everybody in the room knows that they're angry and throwing tables and things like that. But they're looking at you and they're thinking, I hope that you die. But they're saying it in their heart. And they've got this icy cold expression, anger. How do we deal with our anger? Now, you may be a really religious person and you've been around church. You might be an irreligious person and you've been invited to this episode, or you just stumbled upon us here at Graceland Online. We're thankful that you are here as we talk about this really important question, anger, because I think it brings a lot of devastation and a lot of destruction and a lot of conflict in our hearts and in the relationships that we have with the people around us. How do I deal with my anger? Augustine is a guy that lived about 1,600 years ago, says that our problem, humanity's problem, is that we have what's called disordered loves. Disordered loves. That God's created us to love and have passions and desires. But so often what is the case, and I think you know this to be true in your own heart, is that our loves and our passions and our desires are disordered. They're out of whack. They're out of kilter. They're not in their appropriate place. And so let me give you an example. Several years ago, I was in our family's laundry room. Now, that's a domain that I'm not supposed to go in. Not because that's what a wife should do, but in our household, my wife likes to do laundry. She finds it therapeutic. And another reason is that I always screw up the laundry. I put the solids with the whites with the solids. I put my wife's clothes with the kids' clothes. I'll put laundry detergent in a load of workout clothes, which you're not supposed to do. I'll dry things that I'm not supposed to dry. And she's told me time and time again, please do not do the laundry. And so I have more often than not tried not to do the laundry. I was in the laundry room this one particular day, and I did a load. I was trying to, a good motive to help and to contribute. And then I saw the laundry room, and I was going to organize and clean the laundry room. My wife's an organizer and a cleaner. I'm an organizer and a cleaner, but we think about them in different ways, and it looks different. And so I was organizing and cleaning, and I had done a little laundry, and she comes down, and she comes to inspect. You probably know where this is going. And she got a little irritated, a little frustrated with me because she's asked me not to do the laundry, and I was coming into her area, and I was organizing, putting things in places that she did not want them. And I had a good motive, I thought. And what started as a very harmless exchange escalated to me yelling at my wife. I yelled at her. I got angry. I got irritated. And what did I want? What was the reason? Well, I think it's what Augustine, this theologian that I said lived 1,600 years ago, said, that my problem was I had a disordered love. So what did I do? How do I deal with my anger? How did I deal with my anger then, and how do I deal with it now? Let me give you 3 A's. The first is this. I analyzed or assessed why I got angry. Questions are good tools to get to the motives of why we do things. So I asked the question, why did I get angry? And it wasn't so much that she didn't appreciate my organization and cleanliness, but she didn't show me appreciation and respect and affirmation. Cleaning is a good thing, and respect is a good thing, and affirmation is a good thing. But what I loved was being affirmed. what I treasured and desired, and my passion was to be respected. And I wanted her to walk in the room. And I know this sounds crazy. Don't laugh at me. I'm a little insecure. I wanted her to walk in the room and say, "You are an amazing husband. Thank you so much for doing this." And when that didn't happen, those ruling desires in my heart for love and appreciation and respect and affirmation, when they weren't met, I got angry. Now, a real simple definition that I heard years ago by a guy named David Pallas, and he passed away several years ago, but here's what he says, and here's how he defines anger. He says, anger is a whole person response towards some perceived injustice that's thrust upon you. That's a mouthful. Let me say it one more time. Anger is a whole person response towards some perceived injustice that is thrust upon you. Isn't it amazing? I think it is, when someone offends you or you don't get what you want. And isn't it so true that every facet of your being, your emotions, your words, your actions, your thoughts, is pinpointed on that offense? It is for me. It's like I'm never thinking more clearly except when someone offends me, and everything's focused upon how I did not get what I wanted. And it's a whole person response towards some perceived injustice. And that's just that, some perceived injustice. My sense of justice, and probably your sense of justice, is skewed more often than not. It's bent towards our desires. It's me-centered. And it was in that particular situation with my wife. So I first analyzed my anger. Why did I get angry? Because I wanted respect and affirmation and appreciation more than I wanted to serve and love my wife. Secondly, I admitted that I was the problem. Now, I know that you're watching, and undoubtedly in your life, you have been the recipient of hurt and heartache. I know that to be true. So I'm not trying to make a statement where you've not been hurt by other people's actions. But a lot of times, and I would say more often than not, the relational conflict in our lives, the fallout, the destruction, oftentimes comes because you're a big part of the problem. And I'm a big part of the problem. It takes a lot of humility, a lot of honesty in our heart to say, secondly, I want to admit that I was the problem. And third, right, so I assessed, I admitted, and then I was moved to action. The moving to action looked like this. I went to my wife and I said, "Hey, I was out of line. I want to respect and affirmation and gratitude." And when I didn't get that, I responded in an unhelpful way, an angry way. I yelled at you, and I should not have done that. Would you please forgive me? I apologize for my actions. I assessed, I admitted, and then I was moved to action. Now, as I said in a couple episodes ago about how can I truly change, I'm not advocating that you just through sheer moral fortitude assess, admit, and move to action, and then everything's going to be great. Because the truth is, I've done that, and I do that a lot. I am assessing, I'm admitting, and I'm moving to action. And here's where Jesus walks in to our lives. Jesus is obviously concerned about what our loves and our desires and our passions and our allegiances are. Jesus was the God-man. It's one of those truths in the Bible that he was both God and man, a hard truth to comprehend and a hard truth to even articulate. But he was the God-man, and he got angry. I mean, he was flipping tables like a champ. I mean, he was what you might say flying off the handle, but he did it in a righteous way because people actually offended him. They were doing things that were wrong, and he wanted to convey to them, this is not right. Anger can be a good thing that actually conveys and expresses something's not right. And Jesus is not only interested in peering into our heart and bringing about freedom and forgiveness and a new start to our life. That's true, and it's one of the most awesome truths of the Bible about the person of Jesus. But he's also concerned with peering into our heart and exposing and analyzing why we do what we do, and helping us get to a point where we admit that we are the problem and we need him in our lives to bring peace and to bring joy and to bring these truths into our life. And he moves to action, and his move to action is he enters into the throes of our brokenness, enters into the throes of our hurt and heartache, and helps us understand that he wants to engage with us to help us see our loves and our allegiances and our passions and our emotions through the lens of Jesus so that we can actually have rightly ordered loves, rightly ordered priorities, rightly ordered allegiances. And until we yield our lives, a hard truth, until we yield our lives and surrender to Jesus and see him as the first allegiance, the first priority, everything else is going to be out of order because Jesus is the king, he's the boss. And he wants to come into our life to help us see ourselves, the people around us, our present circumstances, and our future circumstances in a right manner. How do I deal with my anger? I hope that encouraged, refreshed, and perhaps even challenged you. We look forward to having you back on the next episode here at Graceland Online.